Welcome to Barnyard Language, honest talk about running farms and raising families. We are Katie and Arlene, an Iowa sheep farmer and an Ontario dairy farmer, with 6 kids, 2 husbands, and a whole lot of chaos between us.
While this is a podcast for farm families, sometimes our content isn't for the whole family. So kick off your boots, reheat your coffee, and join us for some Barnyard Language.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Barnyard Language podcast. It's Krista. I am back with you guys with another fan favorite rerun. Katie and Arlene are still out, so I am bringing back one of our absolute favorite episodes from this last year. This conversation is down to earth, honest, and hilariously real with Shannon Torgerson and Kayla Sarvis, better known to many of you as the Oh Sheep Shit Ladies. This first episode aired almost a year ago, but y'all keep asking for it, and we totally understand why, because it is just such a great conversation. Shannon and Kayla are sheep farmers, mamas, and content creators who don't sugarcoat a single thing. In this rerun, they talk about everything from the breeds of sheep they raise to the nitty-gritty of shearing, dealing with internet trolls, postpartum depression, and yes, even the trauma of potluck dinners. They open up about parenting on the farm, raising kids who know how to work, and how sometimes just laughing through the chaos is the only way to make it all work. I'm sure you guys can relate a little bit to this, and we know that you're going to enjoy this conversation. And if you heard it the first time, it will be just as good the second time. And if you haven't heard it, pour yourself a coffee and give it a listen. You're going to love it. And we will catch you guys next week. Enjoy.
Today, we are excited to be talking to Shannon Torgerson and Kayla Sarvis of Alberta, who are also known as the Oh Sheep Shit Ladies if you are on Instagram or TikTok. So Shannon and Kayla, we always start each of our interviews with the exact same question. So we always ask our guests, what are you growing? So for farmers, that covers crops and livestock, but also careers and kids and businesses and all kinds of other stuff. So Shannon, I'm going to start with you. What are you growing?
I guess, yeah, we're growing lambs, we're growing sheep, we're growing kids. I mean, hopefully a career in agriculture. My husband and I also put up hay, and we have cattle as well.
Very cool. And how many kids and what ages do you have in your house?
I have 2 kids. I have a 3-year-old, almost 4, and I have a 5-year-old.
Very exciting. So pretty busy still at that age. Kayla, how about you? What are you growing? Yeah.
I am growing sheep as well. We also have chickens, just like laying hens. And I have children. And that's about it because that's all.
Oh, yeah. I guess I do have about 50 chicks in my garage right now, too.
Yeah, hopefully they're growing as well. And what ages of kids are we talking about in your family, Kayla?
So I have, my youngest is 4, my middle is 5, and my oldest is 10.
Arlene, before we move on, I need to know breeds of everything. I mean, your children are presumably human, but yeah, I guess that's a species.
Yeah, we have Arcot, Suffolk sheep. We kind of have, mostly crosses of the two. We have Simmental cattle, and then we have, so many breeds of chickens right now. Yeah.
We have we have meat birds, we have
so many chickens right
and
now.
then like every colored egg bird you could think of.
Yeah.
That's the right answer, right, Katie? Too many chickens to count.
Right? Yeah, we went a little bit crazy and not an unusual sale. Now we just have a whole bunch of chicks.
I think what you meant was you're preserving genetic diversity.
Right? Exactly,
yeah.
Yes.
And I already warned Arlene, but due to a preschool egg hatching mishap last year where I stupidly agreed to take all the chicks back without really thinking about what that might mean, I now have 6 roosters and 7 hens, so if you hear a whole lot of ruckus outside, that's what it is. Yeah, they've been pretty noisy the last few days.
Yeah, the roosters are right outside Katie's window today. So how How many sheep are we talking about, and whose house are they at? Because I don't think that your families all live together as far as I know. So
Right? I mean, that would be a lot of fun. Maybe one day.
maybe you're on a commune. I don't know. But yeah, how many sheep, how many, approximately, how many cows, and where is everybody located relative to each other?
Yeah, so they're all at my house. Kayla actually lives like almost in town, not quite in town, but like on an acreage outside of town. And then my husband and I have a farm outside of town. And so we have, I mean, I really don't do a lot with the cows, but I'm going to say that we probably have about like 50-ish cows right now, maybe probably more. And then we have right now about 32 ewes, just one ram, and only about 18 lambs at this point. So,
But ask us in 2 weeks and we will have many more lambs.
Well, yeah, because we just start our second kind of lambing group today.
Right, yeah. So for context, we're recording the middle of May. So maybe by the time this episode comes out in June, there will be a lot more sheep than the number that you gave us today.
Yes.
For sure, yeah.
As a sheep farmer, that's the part that always gets me when people ask how many sheep we have. It's like, what time of year is it? Have we started lambing? Are we done lambing? Have we gotten animals to the sale? Like, I don't know.
Well, because it easily doubles. Yeah, I mean, we're hoping to grow, but we're, running out of pasture to graze them on. So, well, we'll see what happens this year. It just kind of depends if we can acquire some more land to put them on. But
So, how would your husbands and kids feel about having a commune?
a commune? I don't know. You know what? I don't know. Maybe they'd be okay with it. Blair might be happy to have somebody to help with.
I was gonna say, I think they would be. I think they would do it. Our husbands actually grew up as best friends.
Yeah, our husbands were best friends growing up, and then Kayla was my best friend's little sister. And so Kayla and I have known each other since we were young, like, junior high. And then Blair and Cody have known each other since they were kids. And then it just kind of so happened that we married each other. And then so it was just all very easy to, fall into each other's lives.
That's nice. I think my husband and Arlene's husband have kind of like become secret bestie pen pals. It's a little, I don't know, it's adorable.
It's nice when it works out like that, right? Like, it just makes it easy.
And it's always super awkward when you really like someone and your partner, your friends hate each other. Like, it's weird. Yeah.
No, 100%. It's nice because since we all grew up together, it's almost kind of like we all have like sibling type relationships. So I feel like there's a lot of like, me being like, oh, well, Kayla did this and kind of back and forth like that. But then nobody's ever actually mad at each other. Like, it just all kind of goes away and falls into place because it's almost like we're all a family. So even if somebody, and I really think it's just because we all grew up together and, whatever. So it just, even if we complain about each other or something, it just all figures itself out in the end, and nobody stays mad. Nobody, sells all the sheep and walks away.
Yeah, none of those comments get taken too seriously.
Yeah. Even in the midst of lambing.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys grew up where you live then?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're from this area. Yeah. Our husbands are too.
Okay. What's your ag background like, or do you have an ag background?
Neither of us really have much of an ag background. I think the only person that does is my husband. But Kayla and I grew up on a acreage, and I had, horses or whatever. We both did 4-H and had steers in 4-H and stuff. But over that, like, not really. Like, neither of us were out.
Like, my family had like a hobby farm. Like, we had pigs, we had cattle, but it was like
a couple. Yeah. For your freezer.
For our freezer, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we had pigs growing up until, I don't know, I was probably about like 6. We had pigs, but, like 15 of them, nothing more.
Yeah, just everything on a smaller scale, like just very kind of modest agriculture background. And then just growing up in this area too, you kind of get like a light understanding of what everything is all about. But yeah, we haven't, this is kind of our first kick
True
at the can.
experience.
Yeah, kick at the can with like anything agriculture, especially with us. Like we really have no background with sheep whatsoever. I think Kayla had like a couple 4-H sheep when she was a kid, but neither of us have any experience with any of that. So it's been eye-opening. We've made a lot of mistakes.
So what was the inspiration then? Why did you decide to become sheep farmers and turn this into a business and lifestyle? As we know, agriculture ends up being both of those things.
A long time ago, like years and years ago, probably like 8 to 10 years ago, I said to my husband that I wanted to get sheep, and he just was like, no, we'd have to put special fencing up. I don't want to do that. He was kind of just getting into his cattle. And I was working full time. I didn't have any kids. So it was just basically like, I'm not going to help you do that. And then I just kind of accepted that. And then just like probably about like 2 to 3 years ago, like right before we got the sheep, I had said, Kayla and I run another business together. I should start with that. We do hair and makeup for events and weddings and stuff. And both of us were kind of feeling like we didn't want to do that anymore. And we were trying to figure out, and I said, we should get sheep. And she was just like, oh, for like wool and like yarn and stuff, like as pets to cuddle. And I was like, no, to sell as meat. And she's kind of said, oh, no, thank you. I'm not interested in doing that. Like, I don't think that I could do something like that. And I said, well, that's fine.
That's some interesting brainstorming, but no.
Yeah. And I said, well, that's fine. But just so you know, I'm going to do that. And eventually I don't want to do hair and makeup anymore. Like, I'm hoping that this takes over for it. So Kayla stewed on that and had a little bit of FOMO for a little bit. And then she kind of called me and she said, I think that I want to do it. My whole thing for getting Kayla involved too is because I can never do anything by myself. And I had asked my husband again, like, can I get sheep? And he said, you can do whatever. Well, he said, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to help you with that. I'm busy enough. He works a full-time job. He has his cattle. He has to, cut hay. And he's just like, and I don't want to have any more fencing to do. I don't want to do anything for that. And I don't want to put up any money for it. So if you want to do all of that yourself. And I was just like, well, fine, I'll just make Kayla do that stuff with me. And that's kind of what happened, right? I just kind of drug her into it, but I don't think she's mad about it.
No.
I feel like FOMO is a really underrated motivation in a lot of partnerships. I feel like Arlene and I operate fairly heavily through FOMO.
Yeah, right?
I feel like the other thing as a sheep farmer that people miss, and I feel like I need to broadcast this whenever I can, is that people think of butchering sheep and they think of like cute, springy little lambs being adorable. They're full-grown sheep by the time we kill them. They're ugly, they're stupid, and I mean, I love my sheep, but they're not cute babies when we send them to locker.
They're rammy.
They're big, they're gross, they smell weird, they're really not very smart. Like, it gets a lot easier to kill them as they get bigger and stupider.
Absolutely. Like, they stink, right? Like, even Kayla and I, our first lambing season, we had some lambs that became fairly friendly. And I remember having a phone call with Kayla, and she was like, I don't care what you say. I am not selling those.
There was one boy that I was just like absolutely in love with.
Yeah. And she's just like, I'm not selling him. And I said, Kayla, you can't do this every year. Like, I'm just like, if you don't want to sell him, that's fine. But he's not living here. And she was just like, well, I'm going to fence my backyard and he's going to live in my backyard. And she had all of these plans. But when it came time to sell him, although he was friendly, he wasn't as cute anymore. And you know, he went on the trailer with everybody else.
And I backed that trailer up to the
Yeah,
dock,
right?
and I was like, bye.
You take them to the market and away they go, right? And you just kind of have to get over it because that's where your food comes from, and that's what inevitably happens. So, yeah. And she hasn't cried about it since.
That's kind of the rule around here too, is we will occasionally name females, but never males, or they all get the same name, you know.
We
name our males, but
well, and we like to name our females because we find that it's a lot easier to remember who's who with names as opposed to numbers. So especially our really friendly ewes, they all have names.
So how did the two of you balance chores and responsibilities? You know, like we've heard your husband is out, so he's not getting any sheep chores, but between the two of you, especially when one of you lives on farm and one of you's off farm, how do you make that dynamic work between you two?
we actually just switch back and forth each day. So every other day, it's our duties to do the farm chores. I do live, I think it's like 8 minutes from Shannon, but in the mornings, I just drive to the farm, feed the dog, check the girls, feed grain if we're feeding grain, and then Shannon, it's just every other day. And obviously sometimes that doesn't work and one of us is away on a trip or something like that, then the other one just picks up the slack. But yeah.
I was going to say Kayla's away on a trip because Kayla's the only one that vacations, but then I remembered I was gone for 2 weeks.
She was gone for 2 weeks on a TV show, so I'm like, actually... And it was the most chaos I've ever had with the sheep in my life was that 2 weeks because everyone was getting out and I was just like sitting crying every day being like, why did I do this?
And when I went away, you get your phone taken away too. So if she couldn't even like, hey, what should I do about this? Our ram got his head smashed open. Can I pay a big vet bill for that or anything? She just had to make all of those choices. So it was heavy.
Now, as hairdressers, do you do the shearing yourself? Have you,
No.
It's not the same as a men's haircut?
Yeah, the nice thing about doing hair on a human being is they generally sit still, right? Like I won't even do kids' haircuts anymore. And so, because I don't feel like wrestling children, let alone, you know, we like
Sandy shaved.
Yeah, like we've crutched their butts and stuff, but, it's surprisingly harder than we thought that it was going to be. If we're being truthful, we definitely thought that we were just going to be able to scoop in there and give like a rough haircut.
It is so hard.
But it is so hard. And the clippers that we bought, or the shears or whatever, they're from Amazon. So they're not of the highest quality, right? And oftentimes they can barely make it through. And they look like some crazy, like, I don't know. They look very intimidating.
They like the ones from like the real life version of The Grinch. Remember that scene where they like shave?
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of. I refer to that all the time. Some pervert on TikTok was just like, oh, are those the ones that you use to trim your pubes? And I'm like, these would legitimately take off my entire vagina if I tried to use these on my pubes. Like,
they are not going anywhere near my body.
Yeah, like we're not. No.
Like, I barely want it near my finger, let alone anything more important to me, right?
Even a lamb's special bits, you want to stay far away from those too if you're not confident, right?
Honestly, well, I think about that, like when we're even like around like an udder or a ram's nutsack or something, I'm just like, these would take off your whole nutsack.
Look out, boys.
I feel like there really ought to be more publicity around how hard shearing is, because I know at least like...
Absolutely.
You know, on social media, if you search shearing, it's like, 19-year-old Australian guys in short shorts and mullets, like, 15 seconds an animal or something stupid, just running them through. And having shorn a few sheep when I was much younger than I am now, it is a fuck ton harder than it looks, because they don't really want to be flipped upside down, and they don't really want you getting those big scary clippers next to their balls, which is understandable.
Yeah. Well,
our ram was a complete asshole for our New Zealand. Our New Zealand guy, he came and our ram was just fighting him like every second, and then kicked his clippers out of his hand, and we
busted his blade.
We had to replace his blade for him, or we didn't have to. He didn't ask, but we're just like, here's you go.
A big tip.
Yeah, here's a big tip and some banana bread.
Which cost more than your Amazon clippers it combined, probably.
Oh, right? Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we're hairstylists too, so we know how much like these tools can cost. And then so seeing that fly across our barn, we felt pretty bad about it.
Yeah. And it's funny though, because you know, the guy that the ram did it to was the younger guy. And then he passed the ram off to his dad, who's more experienced. And his dad was even just like, this. I mean, the words that were coming out of that man's mouth in his little New Zealand accent, we were just like,
this prick. Yeah.
It is sweet when people swear in cute accents, because it really does.
It is, yeah.
I love it.
It's
I love it. They're really liberal about the C word too, which I kind of love, because like here it's like, you know, one of the worst things that you could call somebody, and with them, they're just like throwing it out all the time. I'm just like, yeah.
Doesn't sound quite as offensive. Like I can't use that one. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
The accent, yeah, you're just kind of like, yeah, he is a.
I will say too, I did my study abroad in New Zealand from an ag school in the States, and going down there, and like the first day I walked into class and all these guys are there in class, not like came from doing chores, but wellies, short shorts, cut off t-shirts, and the mullets was just insane.
I love a good mullet. I cut my husband's hair in a really nice mullet. He's walking around, he's so blonde, he looks like Alan Jackson right now, and I'm digging it.
One of our friends' sons won the county fair best mullet contest last year, and we just got his graduation announcement, and yeah, big old aviator glasses, FFA jacket, mullet. It's a real look. I love it. I am completely here for it.
Are you a farmer or butcher ready to master direct-to-consumer marketing and meet success?
The team at ChopLocal is standing by, ready to help. Sell your meat on the ChopLocal marketplace. Check out all their free meat marketing educational resources at ChopLocal University. Hire the team to help you out, or tune into their new podcast called Meat Success.
And remember, there's more than one recipe for meat success. Let us help you fine-tune yours today at ChopLocalUniversity.com.
So when your shearer misses a spot, do you find yourselves do you sneak out there with a pair of scissors and clean it up?
Well, we don't fix it, I have to say, but we are definitely pretty judgmental about it. Because we'll see all of the strips and rows of and we're just kind of that could look a little cleaner, but no, we're not out there fixing it just due to complete laziness.
I feel like we're both too lazy to do anything like that.
If we had more time, or just maybe took a scoop of pre-workout or something, we might be out there just shaving down ewes. But
so actually, kid and pursuant to many of our discussions, have you guys seen the Shaun the Sheep movie on Amazon, where the farmer gets hit on the head and he has amnesia and starts doing haircuts with he's doing shearing?
I haven't seen that. No.
Oh, it's quality stuff.
Oh, we'll have to watch that.
Yeah, because he does flip his clients upside down in a chair and pin them and gives them all the same haircut.
So you guys are pretty active on social media, and I was wondering if you have any insight into what it is about women farming and actually having fun that makes men so angry. Because it seems like you get a lot of mean tweets and commentary from...
You know what?
We do. I will say we do get a lot of mean tweets and commentary. I will say, and I am a girl's girl through and through. I love women. I love having female relationships. I don't have any man friends. However, I will say we probably get more support from a male audience. I mean, lots of it is asking us for, butthole pictures in our DMs or something, right? We do get a lot of weird stuff, but I will say that like our male support we have an 86% male following. Like we have and I think that that's why a lot of the comments are from men, is just because our content is probably pushed more towards men.
I do think though I think men that have an issue with women being successful though. I think there is, like, we definitely do get haters and we do get some people, but like we are very easily to like block. Like if somebody says something, especially if they're like trying to pin Shannon and I up against each other, like, oh, well, I like Shannon more and this is why, and like kind of, you know, knock me out.
Kayla's way hotter or whatever.
Something like, we just like block and delete. Like it's just, we have no care. We have no time for it.
Yeah.
And then if they also are saying like just crappy things in general, we just like block. We always save the comment because it's funny. Like we don't get our feelings hurt.
Well, if we
save it for
it. Yeah, because some of those are our best. You know,
videos.
we actually value our haters because some of the reply videos to those are our best like videos that, you know, get the most movement on them, right? So yeah, I don't know. I think that people in general feel uncomfortable watching people try something new. Like not just men, but women too. Men, I think, because we're women, it comes more of a place of like judgment, or, you know, especially if they're farmers or whatever, they're just like uncomfortable watching us not doing something right. And then sometimes I think for women, maybe it's more of like I wish that I was doing that, or I wish I, you know, whatever. Like I don't want to say jealousy thing, but maybe sometimes, right? But I think it's just uncomfy watching people try new things and just like laying it all out there and like putting it. And you have to be prepared to see shitty comments too. Like if you're just going to be putting things on the internet, you know that there are going to be people who are mad about it, and it is what it is. But yeah, I think that's kind of what it is. It's more just an uncomfortableness, like watching us doing something we know nothing about and then having fun at the same time, like just being really light about it and leaving our egos at the door, you know?
I will say we get mansplained to a lot though. Like we get a lot of mansplaining in the comments.
Well,
like,
the fencing flyers, flyers.
Yeah, like there is so much mansplaining, and I'm just like, we just give it a little heart and stroke their egos and go like, oh, thank you so much. You're just so great.
Yeah,
thank
you. We have you here.
We wouldn't survive, you know. We have been fenced how many acres of land already. Thank you so much for being here for me.
So helpful.
Yeah.
So how close of a relationship do you have to somebody before you do give a shit what they say or think or whatever?
You know what? We have a lot of people that we know that follow us, and they just watch us. They don't like our stuff. They don't comment on our stuff. They don't share our stuff. And at the beginning, it would bug me. But then it's kind of, now that we've kind of started blowing up a little bit, it's more like,
yeah,
you know, whatever.
I would agree with you. I think that like a lot of the people that we have a good relationship with or have had a good relationship in the past, they're almost the people who have the hardest time watching us do this.
Or
right?
Yeah.
Like they like almost the least supportive.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, it's always one of those things like, well, when you're trying new things, you kind of find out who your real friends are and who are going to, you know, support you, because you'll kind of turn around and look to see where those people are and they're not there, right? Yeah, they're not, you know, watching your stuff or even following you. You know, I have people who have been, you know, big people in my life and they don't even follow our page now, which is, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. But it does make you think like, okay, well, I thought that we were, you know, had a closer relationship with that than that, but it is what it is.
Our goal as podcasters is to create a program that makes you feel less alone as a farming, ranching, or homesteading parent, but we can't do it alone.
Supporting Barnyard Language on Patreon helps us cover production costs and ensures the future of the show, but you'll also gain access to exclusive perks and behind-the-scenes content.
Your support enables us to continue bringing you the thought-provoking conversations and inspiring stories week after week. So if you find value in what we're doing and want to be part of the Barnyard community, head over to patreon.com/barnyardlanguage and choose a tier that suits you. Now, when it comes to the social media side and the farming side, is your goal to have the social media promote your product and then sell it yourselves? Or at this point, are you marketing your own lamb, or is it going to the sale barn at this point? Or kind of what does that look like in terms of where you want to go with both sides of the business?
Yeah, we're not 100% sure yet, if I'm being honest. There's sometimes when I feel like, well, when we have a lot more going on, because realistically right now, we don't have a lot of lambs that we're selling. And so to just kind of have them go to auction whatever day we decide, as opposed to like meeting this person and having them come over, like it's like selling things on Marketplace is such an absolute pain in the ass. Like I hate the idea of having a bunch of people coming and like collecting from us. But our whole initial thing when we started our Instagram page, because it started with Instagram, and we just thought, I wonder if other women would like to see us do this from scratch and just watch and see and know that if they wanted to, they could too. Like we always say it's so ironic that we have an 86% male following, because we started it for women. Like we wanted to show them, like, if you don't have any experience, if you've never done this before, if you don't necessarily have a husband that wants to do it with you, you can
find a friend and do
you can just do it, right? Like you can do it and you can figure things out. Like, especially in this day and age, you can Google anything. And we also have such great connections that we've made in the farming community, and they're so helpful with us, and we're so fortunate and grateful. But that's where it all started, was to just kind of show other women that they can do this, and you can do uncomfortable things, and you can learn on your own. And then it turned into a couple of TikToks blowing up, and now we're just kind of sitting there thinking, what can we do with this, right? Like, I'm sure that there's some way to, because in Canada, you don't profit off of social media. Like, we don't make any money on TikTok, but it would be nice to turn it into something one day. So we do hope that our social media grows and does better. But for now, we don't really know what our goal is with like connecting social media with the farming, but we've, talked about doing YouTube or whatever, but we just kind of need to figure out, I guess, where our niche is. But
yeah. The one thing I think I really appreciate about your content is that it's clear that you're taking this seriously, but that doesn't mean that it's boring, and that like you're having fun with it.
Yeah.
Well, and to make it like farming isn't, sorry, go on.
Yeah, that it's not so serious and dire all the time, that we're doing this and we're working 24 hours a day because we have to, and that this is fun, and like life can be fun and we might as well enjoy what we're doing, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, because I feel like older generations, it was just like work, 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 and there was, I don't know, it never drew me to wanting to do any type of farming. Whereas like the funnest times we have is when we're at the farm together. Like,
and we're doing it
we're
together,
laughing. Yeah. Sometimes there's not laughter. I can say that. It's not always fun. There's hard times, and there's loss, and there's times where like
disagreements,
and
but we want to do things differently.
Yeah, but it's also like, I feel like make you grow as a person, because you're just like, well, I either open up my views on being able to like just take the back seat on this one and let Shannon do it her way, and then same with her, it goes both ways.
Yeah, we both are like very like strong-minded people, so we've both had to learn a lot about compromise and just letting things go and just dropping it and going, okay. Yeah, there are definitely like more arguments in the beginning than there is now. Now we just go,
sure,
okay,
let's do it that way.
Yeah, like whatever.
Care.
I just don't want to be out here for like an hour arguing about it before we do it. So,
I think even as parents too, one of our goals is to make, if we want our kids, like you said, if we want our kids to enjoy this or maybe be in agriculture one day, we don't want this to seem like that this is a terrible job choice, right? If we're not having fun with it, then why would they ever want to stick around?
1000%. And it's funny because so we were both hairstylists in a small town. So we did a lot of, old farmers' haircuts when we were there. And I remember talking to them because my husband was wanting to get into farming. And that was before he had bought his cattle and stuff. And I would be talking to these old guys and they would complain nonstop, right? There was always something's
wrong.
Yeah, always something wrong, always something negative. And then I used to say to Blair, I have no idea why you want to do this. It just, honestly, all of the farmers,
they're miserable.
Yeah, they seem miserable. They seem to hate it. But then I had one guy in one time and I just kind of led with yeah, no, it's kind of farming, blah, 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 blah. And maybe said something about oh, I'm sure, you're not happy with whatever. And he was just no, I love my farm. I love my cattle. And if it wasn't for my cattle, I wouldn't have the life that I do right now. He was I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for everything that farming has given me. And I really couldn't have picked a better career. And that was the first time I'd ever heard somebody say that. And then fast forward to just last year, I don't know if you guys follow Circle Our Lamb, Romy. She was saying we need to say more positive things about the sheep industry. We can't be saying, oh, sheep always fucking die, or, oh, sheep are always getting sick and doing this, because that's all people hear. And then whenever somebody, and us too, when I told my husband that I wanted to buy sheep, he's they die all the time.
And so many people told us that.
And we really haven't had that many issues. Our lambing rate is obviously we don't have as many, but
yeah,
it's those negative things are the first things that you associate it with, and farming too. So it's nice to show positive things, funny things, the lighter side of all of these things. So when people hear sheep or farms or whatever, in their brain, the first thing that they go to are maybe a couple girls twerking on a heater, and not necessarily all of the negative things about
that people are, or that other farmers are saying.
People are complaining about, right?
I feel as someone who's spent a lot of my life being very insecure about the fact that a lot of people don't take me seriously because I am not a serious person, because life is too short, and being real wound about stuff all the time is no fun. It's stressful. Other people don't like it. There's a reason that people pay to go to comedy shows, and they don't pay to go listen to somebody bitch about how terrible their life is for 2 hours. 1010 would not pay for this. And I'm realizing as I'm getting older and spending even more time in therapy that I try to be very serious about the quality of what I put out into the world. And I try to be very not serious about myself, because I can't handle the pressure of being serious about myself because I'm no good at it. I don't like it. It's not fun. Why bother? And if other people are going to judge me for that, that's on them. And if that makes them feel better, cool. I have given them a great blessing by being able to think that I'm ridiculous. But it tells me a lot about who they are. And I don't want to spend time with them because they're probably not fun.
No, I agree with that.
Well, even for our social media, when we first started posting and we started to get do more outlandish videos, and some of the people that we thought would, be there for us, and then they weren't, I was that's strange to me. This is funny. If I saw if any of my friends were doing this, even if I didn't think it was funny, I'd be liking it, I'd be commenting, I'd be sharing. And it's crazy to me that they are, they'll say to my face, oh, that was funny. And I'm was it though?
Because I didn't like it.
I didn't get a heart.
Yeah, right? It's just or we've had people I'll be talking to somebody and they're like, oh yeah, somebody told me about your TikTok video, and they'll say the person's name, and I'm like,
and you just know that
but
it
wasn't a positive.
thing.
Like I can tell by the tone they had, it wasn't a positive thing, and I'm just like, well, that's nice, and I just like, and it's funny to me that like we're just making lighthearted content that's funny to like, bring joy to ourselves, because we do enjoy doing it, and that people can like be naysayers about it, and you're just like, but why?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah. Well, because like I said before, it makes people uncomfortable to watch
Other people have joy.
Well, to do new things and do things in a different way, right?
And not be so serious all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like, as someone who is pretty ridiculous, like, I legitimately went to clown camp as a kid. Like, I am committed to ridiculosity. I don't know. Don't judge me, Arlene.
Do you still have an outfit, Katie?
No, I never.
No, I'm just curious.
No, I never did.
Curious. Like, do you have an outfit? Do you get an outfit at clown camp?
Oh, it doesn't come in like the care package or anything.
Yeah, when you're with your registration, you get your red nose and your big shoes.
The real ironic part is that I did a lot of mime, which anyone who knows me will find that hilarious for as much as I talk. I just totally lost my train of thought. It's gone now.
Sorry, just distracted by the big shoes.
Yeah, I was distracted by no, it's really gone.
All right, so I have a...
Oh, no, Arlene, I remembered it.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that I will get a little judgy of people's videos if they, tell me that they know everything, no matter how much experience they have. If they say that their way is the only way to do something, they can fuck right off into the sun. I guarantee it is not the only way to do it. And also that if you seem happy and healthy and your animals are happy and healthy and you're not doing anything really incredibly dangerous and stupid, have at it. And I mean like stupid in a somebody's gonna get killed kind of way, not stupid in a twerking in Carhartts kind of way.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I am here for the ridiculous.
Because that's good stuff.
So, but here's the difference too, Kate. Like, if you come across a video and you see something that you don't necessarily agree with, what do you do with that? You probably just keep scrolling. You probably go, I wouldn't do that. And then you switch to the next video, right? You're not, most likely, I mean, I don't know you super well, but you're probably not being an asshole in the comments, right? Or...
Depends on how much misinformation there is. I will call people out about like...
But misinformation.
Yeah, misinformation is different than...
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, as a melanoma survivor, I did call somebody out recently who said that sunscreen causes cancer.
I actually was talking about that the other day too. Yeah.
No. But other than that, go for it.
Yeah, if you're seeing somebody with, let's say, a nose ring that like you're not shitting on their nose ring, right?
I'm horrified by your nose rings. Yeah, I'm. I will admit a little bit because I'm middle-aged and I'm Midwestern, that when I see the nose ring like through the bottom, especially with the bigger ring, it does make me think of cattle.
Oh, the septum,
yeah.
But it's not my face, so why the hell would I care?
You're not commenting on it? Yeah.
No,
I get a lot of hate for my nose ring. Funny enough. And Kayla had a fucking nose ring too. Nobody said anything about her nose ring.
Kayla. Maybe if I saw somebody with like a calf wiener as a nose ring, I think I would probably say something about that, just because that really seems like it would hurt.
That would be a funny video, though.
Honestly? I was going to say, honestly, that makes me think about a video.
I'll tag you guys when I post
you
my
go.
nose ring video. I figured just like big old... Anyway.
So once I knew you guys were hairstylists, this is the top question that came to mind that I'm sure that most people who've worked around livestock have. What are your techniques for those times where you have to go to town after doing chores and you don't want your hair to smell like cows, sheep, chickens, whatever? Like what's the solution for the long hair not smelling like barn?
Nothing. We just smell like shit.
Yeah. Truthfully, we smell like shit all the time. But the great thing is we're so used to it now that we're just like completely ignorant to the fact of how fucking stinky we are all the time, that it doesn't affect us anymore. It just only affects
our
other
friends.
people. Yeah.
Like we always say, like, oh, we're the stinky girls in our group. Like our friend group, we're like, we're the stinky girls.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you now, I'm not washing my hair every time I go to the farm. I'm like, sometimes if it's freshly washed, I'll like tuck it all up in a hood and I'll put my hood up and I'll cinch my sweater up. But that's like freshly washed hair. Otherwise, I'm just like, you know what? Let's just spray some perfume in a broad area and hope for the best.
Yeah, I don't even bother spraying with perfume. I'm just like, well, it is what it is. Like, hopefully nobody is close enough to me that they can smell how disgusting I am. But if they are,
that's on them.
Yeah, that
smells like sheep.
Yeah.
I will admit, probably a decade ago now, my husband and I were in a local pizza place. And without thinking about it, I turned to him and went, "What smells like shit?" And this high school kid in front of us, who I hadn't even noticed, blushed so red. And I realized that he had clearly just like stopped in on his way home from work at whatever farm to grab a pizza. And I was like, "Oh, honey, no, I thought it was me." Like,
yeah. Was it in the treads of my shoe? Is it this coat?
Yeah, I had changed boots. I was like, is there cow shit down my back that I have not noticed? Like, I'm not judging you. Yeah. So, other hair question, as someone, since we have you here, whose hair has changed tremendously since I had kids and then really started going gray. The texture's totally different, blah, blah, blah. How do you figure out, like, when it's time for a different hairstyle, how do you figure out what to do? Because, you know, when we were kids, they had those big books of, like, really hideous hairstyles with a lot of blue eyeshadow. And now, God forbid, if you Google, like, middle-aged haircuts, it's all about, like, highlights for your youthful glow and, like, straight soccer mom hair. And I'm like, well, none of that's happening.
Yeah, I don't want that. Yeah, I don't know. I think just like a good relationship with whoever your hairstylist is, right? And I feel like they'll kind of lead you down the right path. I would say that the majority, because I still do hair at home, and I would say that the majority of my clients just kind of come down and go, I've seen these pictures. What do you think? And sometimes I look at all the pictures they show me and I shit on all of them and I go, no. Yeah, you can't have any of this. And then they look disappointed.
Yeah, that won't work for your hair.
Yeah. But then typically I talk to them about the things that we could like incorporate into their hair from that or whatever. And, but yeah, it really depends. Like I would always like have some ideas of just like visually like things that you like to see and then just like go in there. I don't think you have to Google like middle-aged women's haircuts. I think that no matter what age you are, you can wear whatever the fuck you want. You know, because yeah, then you are going to get like the ones that are like appropriate. And if you want something fun, those things are not necessarily going to come up because, you know, of those taglines. So just, yeah, do whatever you want.
So I have a question too for our non-Patreon listeners. You're missing this. Do you guys actually have the same color hair? Are you like...
Do we?
Yes.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close. Okay.
You know what though?
I can only see like half of each of your heads, so I'm kind of like...
We've like morphed. I feel it's kind of funny though, because I feel like we've like morphed into the same person. Like
with our style.
With our everything. Yeah. We just kind of, when you're around somebody so much,
yeah,
you just kind of become...
Yeah. Periods sync up. And...
everything, right? Totally. But yes, it is. Shannon's is a little bit lighter though.
I know I have one cousin that, like, without communicating, we have bought basically the entire same wardrobe. I think we have the same glasses. Like, it does just become this, like, we are one person now sort of vibe.
Yeah, like Kayla and I could probably go to a store and, like, pick out outfits for each other and, like, get everything right, you know? But we are with clothes and stuff, we're very different body types. So it's just like Kayla's like almost a whole foot taller than me.
So here's some content idea. I would love to see like try-ons of different, especially workwear on, you know, like the same clothes on very different bodies, because I feel like you see ads of like thin women or big women, short women or tall women, but not like this is what the same like Sisterhood of the Traveling Carhartts will look like on different body types of the same item, because it's just because yeah, I'm 5'9" and really long waisted, and seeing a model who's 5'2" is not helpful to me. Like, you know.
Well, even for me, like I'm 5'7", and I have a very short torso and I have very long legs. So my problem is like everything, like the straps are always so long, and then the torso, like I'll have like the saggy crotch because the torso of everything is so long for me. But then if you shorten it and they don't have a tall option, I'm like flood pants this long, because like Shannon and I sitting next to each other, you'd think we're the same height.
Yeah.
Stand up, I am way taller than her. So it's like, it's very, yeah, I agree. It's hard to find something that fits multiple body types.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really weird too, because I didn't realize how long waisted I was until I had a child who's built like I am. And I was like, oh, all of her shirts are too short too. And like coming to realize that, like, even though I'm 5'9", my desk chair is on its lowest setting and I still have a pillow beneath my feet, because otherwise my feet don't touch the floor correctly. Like, because it's all up here. And it's so weird to like realize these things that are like, there's really nothing more fundamental to know about yourself than how your body is shaped. But it's just, it's a weird thing to realize.
Yeah. And yeah, what kind of things look good on you and what kind of things feel good on you. And I feel like when you become an adult, you have like a good idea of what, but yeah, when you're a teenager and you're like trying to figure all of that stuff out, it's hard because you see all of these people wearing these certain kinds of things and you want to be a part of that, and it just doesn't look good on you.
Yeah, because everybody wants to wear the same thing.
Oh, for sure. When you're a teen, right? Early 20s, like you just, yeah.
I'm just gonna, 1 second right now, I'm just gonna tell my kid to turn the TV down. So, sorry about this.
That's okay.
Jake, turn the TV right down and stop opening and closing drawers, buddy. All the way down. I homeschool.
So that's a good transition actually into our parenting questions. That works out really well.
I was going to say, for our editor, I think we should start leaving all the parenting interruptions in this show just to really get the reality of these things.
I've been like pointing to him like behind the camera, being like, get out of here.
Yeah. Leave in the rooster sounds and the kid sounds for sure.
Yeah. Oh, well, we have 5 kittens in our house right now and they're like meowing in the background, and I'm just like,
oh, well, they're doing amazing because I haven't really heard them at all. So yeah. So I'm going to start with what we talk to a lot of, especially women, about is that kind of transition. And it doesn't sound like it's super far away for you guys. The transition from not being parents to being parents, that 0 to 1 transition. So Kayla, do you want to start? I know you said you have a 10-year-old, so it's been a few years now, but what was that transition like for you going from 0 to 1?
it was terrible.
Yeah.
I did not handle motherhood very well. I was 22 or 23 when I had my son. So I was quite young and had very bad postpartum. Didn't do anything about it. Should have. But I just never went for the help that I truly needed. So that was really hard. And I struggled for probably like a solid year before I felt like semi myself. So yeah.
Yeah, Kayla has like a big age gap between her first and second babies because she had such like a rough time. A lot of people hear Kayla's ages of her kids and think that she has a different baby daddy for her first baby, but she didn't. She just went so insane she couldn't do
it again.
Yeah, you needed to recover.
Well, and honestly, the only reason I was like powering to have a second was because I knew she was going to start trying soon. And I was like, how fun would it be to be moms together? Meanwhile, I was like still slightly Looney Tunes after 5 years. And I knew she was going to start trying. So I was like, well, looks like I'm having a second.
We'll go through it together. Everyone has an origin story, but some stories hit you in the heart, and the story behind one of our past guests is totally one of those. It all started with a young kid named Kawani.
Yeah, Sean, the chicken guy short of Blooming Health Farms, didn't know he'd be a chicken farmer or that he'd be teaching you how to turn your flock into a business. It began with Kawani, a kid stuck in the court system who needed a second chance. He joined Sean at Blooming Health Farms to turn his life around.
One day, Sean showed Kawani how to sell fresh eggs at a local market. As Kawani started selling those eggs, Sean saw the real power in what he was doing. It wasn't just about the eggs. He was building skills and getting respect from the community. That one small act of selling eggs transformed his life.
And that's how Blooming Health Farms was born. Sean saw that selling eggs could be more than food. It could be a way to help others learn business skills and build their own futures. And now, through their online community called Pimp Your Flock, Blooming Health Farms is taking this mission even further.
Pimp Your Flock is a community for people who want to turn their passion for chickens into profits. You'll learn how to turn your flock into a real income source, and when you join, you're supporting Blooming Health Farms so they can help more kids like Kawani build a better future.
So if you're looking for a way to turn your flock into a business and be part of something bigger, join Pimp Your Flock at pimpyourflock.com. Not only will you learn the skills to make your egg business grow, but you'll also be part of a community that's changing lives.
Head over to pimpyourflock.com today and let's make an impact together, one egg at a time.
As someone who dealt with bad postpartum, yeah, it's hard to admit that you did a good job just by getting this far. But the fact that we brush it off, even serious postpartum, is such a well, it's just baby blues, and you're like, no, but I can't leave my house, and people are just like, well, it's just you'll be fine, If it took 5 fucking years for you to feel okay enough to even consider having a second child, that's not okay. That is not. We would never put up with this with any other medical condition. To be like, well, it took 5 years for your broken leg to heal, but that's fine. It's just broken leg blues. I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah.
No,
it is crazy. And you don't think when you're in it, you're just like, it's life. Like, this is what it is to have a new baby. I remember, and this is not to go to the dark side, but I remember putting him in his crib and having to walk down to the end of the driveway and just sitting and bawling my little eyes out because I was so overwhelmed and was just what did I do? What was I thinking? Why did I choose to do this to myself? And in the moment, it wasn't 10 years ago, it wasn't really talked about, postpartum depression. And I didn't have any friends that really had kids. So I was kind of on my own. Compared to now, anytime I have a friend that has a baby, I'm like, how are you feeling? Because this is how I felt. I remember feeling like my world was going to end, and remember crying every day and just being so overwhelmed with the life choice that I made. And it's better now that it is talked about, but it even still isn't talked about enough.
Well, because I think even though it exists, because I did the same thing. I was not well after I had my first baby, and I had already watched her go through that. So, and I remember thinking before I even had kids, people get postpartum. If I had postpartum, I would just go on medication. I would just, I would just deal with it. It would be fine. It doesn't need to be a big deal. But then when I'm going through it, I'm just you don't want to admit
that you have it.
You don't want to acknowledge that you're not doing well because you're just I thought that mentally I was stronger than this. And here I am shitting the bed too, kind of. And you're just no, but I could feel, that I wasn't well, and I would cry all the time and just be why did I do this? Why did I have a baby? I hate that I made this choice. And then I would go to the doctor's office and my doctor would be how are you doing, Shannon? I'd be great. I'm doing so good, and I'm not telling my doctor that, I want to lob my baby across the room or anything. I'm just kind of trying to tough it out and waiting for it to pass. But so it is funny because when you're not in it, you have all of the information of what it might be like, but you just don't think that you are going to be the person that has to deal with it. And when you are, you're almost too prideful to accept that or admit that, right?
And as an outsider, like when she was going through it, my sister and I were like, she has postpartum, but you can't say that to somebody. You can't, like, you can only sit them down so much and be like, what can we do? How can we help you? And if they're saying no, you know, you can't fully force yourself onto somebody because you went through it. And if somebody looked at me and said, well, you're postpartum and you need to go on medication, I would have been like, don't come back.
Yeah. Hey, Shannon, it kind of seems like you're going to drive your car into a wall. Is that true?
Like, you can't, you know, you can only push somebody so far before they're just like, they cut you out.
Yeah. So I think that the best thing to do almost is everybody who has a baby, I'm always just like, I tell them how much I struggled. So maybe
they'll feel comfortable
telling me
if they feel that way.
Because I do think that it just like feels better. Because when I was going through postpartum, Kayla was having her second baby, and we had another girl or another friend that had a baby too, and we all three of us had babies at the same time, and they were just having the best time with their little babies and like talking about how great they feel and how wonderful it is. And I was just like, well, I'm sure as shit not telling you guys that I don't like my baby. Like, you know, because you feel awful saying that, and you feel like you're the one that's doing bad, and you don't want to be the one that's doing bad. Like you know, they're breastfeeding, having no problems. I had these little dried up boobies that aren't performing after I just had a C-section, and Kayla shot her baby out of her vagina across the room, and you're just
9
like,
pounds.
Yeah, and you're just like, wow, I'm really coming up short here. Like I couldn't even have my baby out of my vagina, and my boobs aren't doing great, and now I want to, you know, you cry in the shower every night. Like everybody's doing so much better than me.
I will say, on one hand, I hate, especially telling first time parents, being like, parenting is really fucking hard, and not the like the kid part so much, but the C-section, no breastfeeding, postpartum, not getting enough sleep is actually literally a form of torture. But at the same time, even as someone who's done a depression thing before, been on meds, totally pro therapy, pro meds, the whole thing, watched my best friend literally stop having kids after the second one because her postpartum was so bad. I only went to the doctor after she messaged me and said, you know, you can call your doctor or I am going to. And having not even a threat, having that permission to say, I am not okay, has driven me so much to turn to other parents and be like, if you're not okay, that's fine. Like, not fine in a, you need to continue this way, fine. But fine in a, I am not going to judge you for whatever it takes.
And a fine in the sense that this is completely normal. That it's so normal. And even if you don't have a diagnosed postpartum diagnosis, you know, that becoming a parent changes everything. So we shouldn't be okay. There shouldn't be this assumption that any of us were okay when we first had kids, because there's nothing about it that makes sense. Like you said, you're not sleeping. Either you can't breastfeed and then you end up feeling guilty about it, or you can and then you're a cow who has to be up every hour because your baby can only feed off of you and will reject a bottle, because that was my experience. So it just, none of it's okay. And it's all so hard, but we put on a smiling face and say, but I love my baby, so it's all right.
Right. And it's I remember maybe it was Kayla who said this to me. She was like, nobody tells you how hard it is. And I looked at her and I was like, literally everybody fucking tells you how hard it is, but you just don't listen. Like you just think, I'm a strong-minded person, I'm going to be able to do this better than
all these other people.
Yeah, this person or whatever. Like, I've never struggled with depression, I'll be fine. And then so when you're not, because you were blabbing about how well you were going to do, you're just like, well, I'm not fucking telling them that I'm not doing well, right? Like, yeah, you just don't want to admit it.
Or the thing that you thought was going to be hard was not the thing that ended up being hard. You know, like the thing that you were like, oh, well, yeah, changing diapers is probably going to be really shitty. It's like, that's not even on the list of things that are hard. You know, like it's something completely different.
Well, it's all the things that you think, yeah, that, and the lack of sleep like that, I think that that's what really screws you too, right? Like, I remember so I was awake for like 30 hours in labor, had an emergency C-section. Then after my emergency C-section, I remember my eyes were closing and they're just like, time to hold your baby. And I'm just like, no, thank you. Fuck off. Like, I don't want to hold my baby. Like, I can't even keep my eyes open. I don't care that I just had a baby. Like, I'm so tired. And then they make you hold your baby and then they make you try to breastfeed. And I think that I had probably been awake for like 45 hours and had not slept yet. And then I wasn't producing like any colostrum, really, any milk. So my baby was screaming and like not going to sleep. And I was so exhausted. And then I have to go home after not sleeping for like 40 something hours, not caught up on sleep. And then I have to take care of this baby. And I'm still so adamant that I'm going to breastfeed. So I'm trying to like push through because you're in the hospital and they're telling you breastfeeding is so important. You need to do this. You need to blah, 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 blah. And everything that you listen to tells you, you know, your baby's going to be autistic if you don't breastfeed or something, right? Like, it's just all this craziness. So then you're trying to like push through and do all of this crap, but you've literally slept like 4 hours within the last 4 days, an hour a day. And you're just like, how I can't even navigate my way to the bathroom right now, let alone take care of this human being. And like, God bless men, but I just don't even think that they think that they're sleep deprived too. And it's just like, no, you're not sleep deprived. Like, you were sleeping in the hospital while I was in labor, sir. Like, take care of this baby.
I feel like, too, for someone who struggles with that perfectionism of like, well, obviously other people will struggle with this, but it will be easy for me because I am just good at stuff, you know, that part of what was so hard to dig out of it for myself was that, you know, when my friend called and was like, you have to call your doctor, I was like, there's no way that's the solution, because if it was easy, I would have already done it. You know, obviously this problem is so much bigger than that, but you just get so underwater with, I think, especially with the sleep deprivation, and everything just seems like too big of a problem. And it's like, oh, breastfeeding isn't working. Just give your kid formula. Like, it's really not that big of a deal, but to give yourself the permission to just do the thing, that is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, and that was another like really interesting thing when I had babies, is because like I was one of the last one of my friends to have babies. You know, I started having babies at like 31 or something, right? So, you know, I had watched all of my friends have their first kids, and I remember my one friend struggling with breastfeeding, and her sister, you know, like my best friend since high school, was struggling with breastfeeding. And I remember thinking, just give a formula. Like, why are you? And I remember thinking, that would not be me. Like, I would just be shoveling a bottle in this baby's mouth. Like, I would not be doing that. And then fast forward like 5 years and I have my own baby and I'm like sitting there crying over not being able to breastfeed. And looking back on that, I always say, if I had a third baby, I would be scheduling my C-section and buying formula before that baby is even born. And I would just be, you know, because the amount of time that I struggled through that, like trying to push through and breastfeeding, is just shocking. Because like before ever having kids and looking at other women dealing with this, it just seemed like such an easy fix to me. But when you're in the thick of it, your brain is just not working the same, you know?
As someone who did, I think, have a very similar experience with the whole, like, I will breastfeed and have a natural childbirth and blah, blah, blah. And literally none of that happened with the first kid.
Yeah.
My kids are 16 months Yeah, my kids are 16 months apart. There was never a question about VBAC because our small rural hospital doesn't do it. So we literally scheduled a C-section, stocked up on formula, and it was fucking amazing. Because there was no like, well, I'm a terrible mom if I do X, Y, and Z. And I mean, yes, you get told that your kid's going to be weird as hell if you have a C-section and or formula feed and or vaccinate and or whatever else. My kids be weird as hell anyway. I really don't think it's the formula. Like, there's no way my kids were going to be normal anyway.
So, what are your favorite things about raising kids around animals and on the farm now that you guys are farmers?
My personal favorite is I have recently started homeschooling. So the fact that my son, when, this year we were lambing and he would have been in school, he got to be at the farm and watch the lambs come out. And it was nice just learning things that he would have never got the opportunity to, truly, if I wouldn't have decided to do this with Shannon, because we do live on an acreage. So yes, we've like hatched baby chicks and that sort of thing. But like the livestock end of it, and two, just like responsibility. Like, you know what? Yeah, we're lambing this. Like, we're starting to lamb again. So there's not going to be us going to the movies or doing fun things for 2 weeks. It's no, you have to come to the farm. You have to help mom. We've got to vaccinate. We don't have a handling system. So you have there's responsibilities, and we're responsible for like a living thing.
Yeah.
And they come before all the fun stuff.
Yeah. I love seeing like how excited they are. It's bittersweet. I love seeing how excited they are to help out and to do things, but it's also a giant pain in the ass for me too.
Well, it's irritating because you're just like, no.
You're just like, there's definitely times where my kids will be like, I want to help. And I'll be like, no, I don't want you to help. And then I just have to be like, Shannon, where do you have to go? You don't have anywhere to go. Just let them help.
Take the extra 10 minutes.
Yeah, and then you'll see their little faces and how like proud of themselves they are with their work ethic, and you're just like, yeah, I was a good mom today. And then it'll literally be like the next day, and they'll be like, I want to help, and you'll be like, no, go see dad. Like, get the hell out of here. Like,
yes, trying to stay patient enough to have them help when they're little is hard, and then now I'm in the teenage like, ugh. Yes, I'll do it, but do I have to stage? So yeah, you have to. It's hard to appreciate their enthusiasm when they're not helpful.
Arlene, you're supposed to lie and tell us about how much easier it is when they get bigger. I feel like that's like the parenting law.
There are definitely parts of it that are easier, but I'm not going to lie and say it's all easier. But I mean, I am lucky my 18-year-old came home from university and wants to work with us this summer, and she is helpful. So she's currently picking rocks. So yeah, that.
I meant to mention, Arlene, your highlights look great. So since you sent me pictures. I think too I'm excited for you guys about how much your kids are learning about attitude and problem solving and teamwork, and knowing that your kids aren't going to end up at the hair salon bitching about how everybody's had it easier for the last 70 years and farming is the legitimate worst. Like, if you hate it that much, do something else. It is just a business. You can do something else.
Yeah. But don't you think, I think maybe a lot of those people would probably be complaining no matter what their job was, right? But no, I definitely want my kids to have a better attitude about it. And I try to mostly only say positive things to them about it. And I will say, because my husband can be a little bit doom and gloom sometimes, like, he's
Well,
he'll be that farmer.
Generational, though. That's generational. Like, that's passed on.
He'll be the one in the hair salon when I quit cutting his mullet, bitching about things. But I will say, I've asked both my kids, do you think you're going to want to be a farmer? And they've both said yes. And I said, what are you going to have? Are you going to be on a tractor? Are you going to have cattle? Are you going to have sheep? What are you going to do? And they both said sheep, because being out there with the sheep is a lot more fun than, being being yelled at around the cows kind of thing. I hate, my husband listens to this. Sorry, Blair.
Sheep are also a little bit safer for their ages too. You know, they can might be a little safer in a few years.
Yes, and that's Blair's biggest thing is like,
The
you know, if
safety.
he's going out and like tagging a calf or something, it's a little bit more dangerous being out around the mama cow than it is being. All of our sheep are so lovely. Like
We seriously, there's
We don't
one,
have, like,
there's
one
one
mean,
ewe
yeah.
that we call Mean Mummy, and all she's ever done is stomp her foot at us.
but
That's it. Like
nothing else.
we've
yeah.
been very fortunate.
Even our ram is lovely. Like he completely split his head open fighting with another ram, and we were able to be his doctor, and just with like little handfuls of grain, he let us glue his head back together and everything. Like he's just so lovely. So we've been really fortunate with the temperament of our sheep. But I do have 2 cows of my own, just only 2, and I can't even get around them because they're so mean and miserable. So maybe it's the cattle thing.
You've got 2 cows more than billions of other people have. So you're doing fucking awesome.
These ones are my own cows, so they're like the little Dexters.
I love Dexter's so much. I love short, fat beef cattle. I do. I'm sorry, Arlene. I'm sorry for your giant Holsteins.
Hey, that's fine. I don't have to own them.
That's why we have so many people.
That's right. Everyone can raise their own stuff. So what are your biggest parenting struggles these days? And they don't have to be completely related to the farm. Just the regular everyday stuff that you're struggling with your kids.
Well, I have a mean little redheaded child. she's so mean.
So okay, for example, she's mean, but she's also literally the sweetest little girl ever too. Like she is. But for example, we were just at a Mother's Day tea, and there was Shannon has a video of her, and she's waving. This little girl's waving beside her daughter, and her daughter is like stink eyeing this little girl, like
for waving, just like having a good time.
And it was like just like embodied her personality of just like you're like get out of here.
Yeah,
she has my heart. She's hilarious.
Yeah, she's kind of a mean one. So she would be my parenting struggle. Whereas like my my son is just, he's so sweet, so like soft hearted, but I will say if I were given a boy and a girl child, and you know God was to say, you can have these 2 kids and here are these 2 personalities, which personality are you going to assign to which child? That's the way that I would choose it. You know, like I think that the world needs some
sassy,
soft-hearted men and some
sassy girls,
mean little redheaded girls, you know. She'll run the world one day, but for right now she just kind of runs my shit, and it can be a little tough.
Yeah, for me, I think it would be my oldest, who's here, so I can't say too much. But just that transitioning from being a child to like a preteen.
Yeah.
Like that, we're bordering that time, and like
they know everything.
Yeah. They're confident in themselves, so they're just like, well, you know, why did you do it this way? Why is this sitting, like just trying to...
Well, and in their defense too, they do know more things so when they challenge you, sometimes they're right. And that's really annoying as a parent to just be like, well, you're not fucking wrong. Like,
but your tone could use some work.
Some adjusting, yes. And yeah, he's a very great kid. Like he listens well, he's very helpful, always is like willing to work hard he's always looking to earn money. He works for his grandparents, and like he's a really great kid. But it's just like that preteen, like I'm bordering into that independent kid, whereas my other ones are like little. Yeah. So, my daughter's super emotional, so it's always dealing with emotions and like trying to not,
stomp them into the ground
and be like, stop crying all the time.
Yeah, validate them a little bit.
Yeah. So it's always that like fine line, whereas like it's the struggle of going into the preteen and teenage years that I'm like, oh my goodness, nobody else has gone through this except like I'm going through this and I have no one to ask, like, what do I do?
Yeah. I find at that stage too, it's hard to like both let them have that confidence and not take it from them. Like you said, sometimes they are right, but also try and work on that. Okay, yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's great, but could we work? Yeah, like I said, work on the tone, or like
could we be a little bit more humble?
have some empathy, and especially when you're watching them I'm gonna guess interact with their younger siblings with all of that confidence and authority, because I have one of those who verges on mean, and it's hard to watch your kids be mean to their siblings, or that's how it comes across, right?
Yeah, and he's he's a slobber. I am like unorganized chaos, whereas like my husband is like, he likes things a certain way and put away, and I'm like, my house could be a disaster, and I'm like, whatever.
It's just like scooching things aside to walk through
like I couldn't care. Whereas like he is like puts things away and wants everything to be just so. So when he actually recently came home from my mom's house and he looked at me and he said, "Did you guys make sure the house stayed clean?" And I was like, "Pardon me?" Like, "Hi, Mom."
Yeah.
Like, and that was like his first question to me, and I'm like, "Yeah, there's some stuff on the counter, but not." And he walked in and he's like, "Well, why didn't everyone put their stuff away?" And I'm just like, "You are the child, not the parent." Like stuff like that you're just like, "I'm gonna drill you."
I hear you. Yes.
We were talking about advice the other day, and I said something about that sometimes it's better to be kind than right. And you might still be right, but sometimes it's more important to prove that you can be kind than to prove that you are correct.
Yeah, but that's a hard lesson for kids to figure out, though.
Oh, it's a hard lesson for adults to figure out.
Oh, yeah, for adults, too, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard lesson for adults, even. There are some people who never learn that, right? But that's a good way of putting it, for sure.
I am waiting. Many years ago, my niece is 15 now, and when she was probably 7 or 8, I remember I was driving somewhere and she goes, "Maybe you didn't know this," and then rattled off something, and I am waiting for my daughter to say this. I know it's coming. And it just, wow. That, it brings up your inner 13-year-old almost as much as dealing with your mother does. Like, "You're not the boss of me." All right, so we ask all of our guests, if you were going to dominate a category at the county fair, what would it be? And categories can be real or made up to ensure that you win.
Probably best bitch face.
Nice.
Would be mine. I have a pretty stellar bitch face. Or maybe like a hot dog eating contest. I'd be really good at too.
Speed, quantity, both?
Oh, speed, quantity. I mean, probably both. Like, I really feel like I could down a bunch of hot dogs. But yeah, you got to be fast at it too.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like when she said that, it triggered me. Everyone, and this I feel like drives Shannon crazy. Everyone on our social media is always like, "Kayla's so sweet." She's just so sweet and kind. And I feel like I can cheese it up to people so hard. Everyone, I feel like I would win that. And also eating though, ice cream, even though I'm lactose intolerant, I could crush ice cream. Like,
yeah, she'd just have diarrhea.
I would just be like, I would probably explosive to the bathroom, but I could down probably like one of those big tubs, like, those big, huge tubs. I feel like I could crush it. No problem.
Yeah.
I'm a big ice cream fan.
Nice.
Bubblegum, to be exact.
Yeah. Kayla spits out all of the bubblegum. In a napkin. And then she saves them. And after she's finished eating the ice cream, she eats all of the bubblegum.
Shut up. That's like a deep, dark secret.
I'm like, what do you mean a deep, dark secret? We're like in public and she's carrying around a napkin full of like these. They're not regular bubblegum, Kayla. They're meant to just be like consumed with the ice cream.
It's not. No. I'm so embarrassed right now.
Humans are so fucking weird. Like, seriously, if space aliens came to Earth and saw Kayla with her bubblegum napkin, this is why they haven't shown up. This is why they haven't made themselves known.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know what she also does? She has like weird eating habits, and then
I really do. I hate it so much that she's gonna tell this one.
well, and then so she like buys peanut M&Ms, and then she just eats all of the chocolate off the peanut M&Ms, and then throws the peanuts away because she says that the chocolate tastes different on the peanut.
It does. I don't eat the peanuts.
So it's absorbed the peanut flavor, but you don't eat the peanut.
Yes, she just tosses them away.
But I don't eat the peanuts after. That I'm like,
yeah, she's like, ew, peanuts? Like, what? I'm like, she does these like weird little things with food, or we'll go to like baby showers and stuff, and she'll take a bunch of the desserts, like chew the corner off and be like, no, I don't like that. And then she won't eat it. And these people who have made these desserts will be like walking around looking at Kayla's plate graveyard of all of these desserts that she decides that she doesn't like. And then when her kids are like being fussy eaters, she's just like, that's so irritating. And I'm like, it's because of you. I'm like, you've done this. And maybe I'm just, you know what, like, that's why it's so funny that everybody thinks that Kayla is like much nicer than I am, because if I took a plate of desserts at a shower, even if one tastes like dog shit, I'm eating the entire dessert because I just want to please these people who have made these things. Like, I would never want them to think that I didn't like it. Like, but Kayla's like, no, I'm not eating that.
In Kayla's defense, my daughter does the same thing with the peanut M&Ms, but then she saves the peanuts for me because mommy likes peanuts. And I'm like, but
oh, so kind.
Soggy little peanuts, yeah.
This child is the same one who, when she was just a little tyke, I bought her, when they come out with like the specialty Oreos, she's a girly girl. She loves the pink sparkly shit. And they had the Oreos that were like white cookies with the pink frosting. She opened like 20 Oreos while I was on the phone one day, licked all the frosting out of them, and then toddled up and like reached her fat little baby arm up on the kitchen counter and just dropped this pile of licked off cookies. Same kid who has licked the seasoning off Doritos and then put them back in the bag.
Yeah, I've had that happen too.
Oh, that's
Anyway.
so funny.
I've had that happen too.
I feel like that should have been your cussing and discussing, Katie, but we're going to move into the segment anyway. So, as listeners know, we have an online platform called SpeakPipe where you can call in your cussing and discussing entries, or you can email them to us at barnyardlanguage@gmail.com. Katie, what are you cussing and or discussing this week?
I'm going to discuss the amazingness and how much it makes up for, because you forget about the sleep deprivation eventually. You remember it sucked, but you don't remember the whole truth of it. When your kids get interested in things that you love, and they're so fucking enthusiastic, and they're so wrong about basically everything, but they are so stoked to participate in it. We put our bird feeders out this week, and watching my kids try to identify birds is the best. And I got raised beds this year, and watching my kids try to like garden is the funniest damn thing in the world. And I love it. Like, just how excited they are. And like, we have barn cat kittens. My daughter named one of them Pencil. Like, they just get so into it. And it's so cool to watch what they're like before the world smashes them with the patriarchy and perfectionism and making them worry that somebody will think they're dumb so they can't go on TikTok and dance stupid in their work pants. And it's just awesome to see at this age. And I hope they stay weird like that, because they're pretty cool. So Shannon, what do you have to cuss and discuss today?
So the cussing and discussing thing, I did read it. So is this something like an annoying thing?
This is just kind of, just a free-for-all, something that you think is fun, something that you're happy about right now, something that's pissing you off, whatever. It's just a...
Okay. Well, I have tons of stuff that piss me off because I'm an irritable person. So because we're coming into summer where like events are, I'm going to be invited to more stuff. I hate being invited to potlucks, and I hate having to bring a potluck item. And I don't like when people do potluck dinners, because I feel like if you're going to invite me over to your house and I have to like pick up all of my shit and my kids and get everything ready to go to your house, you better be fucking feeding me. Like, why am I having to prepare something to come over to your house? And there's a time and a place for a potluck. Don't get me wrong. If you're all throwing a stagette with your girlfriends or whatever, and like it's a group event, but if you're inviting me over to your house and you ask me to bring a food item, I'm not coming. I'm not fucking coming. Or I'm bringing a bag of chips.
And Kayla's not going to eat it anyway.
Well, because sometimes I'm just like, in order to leave the house with 2 young kids, it takes me a long time, you know? And then I have to like prepare.
I love how she's saying like this is just a present thing. She's felt this way since I've ever known her.
Okay, but then I was working. I worked every Saturday, and then people would invite me to a potluck on a Saturday afternoon. And I'm just like, bitch, I was just working. I don't have time to make like a charcuterie board or like veggie pizza or something. Like, I have shit to do. I'm not gonna make a meal before I come to your house. Like, get out of here. If you're inviting me over, I'm not cooking anything. Anyway, unpopular opinion. I get people mad at me about my feelings about potlucks.
That's fine. I think you're just scarred because you're worried that Kayla's not going to eat it then when she gets there.
Right. Well, and then truthfully, when you see people like with it on their plate, like not eating, you're just like, bitch, yeah. I had 5 minutes to make that.
Yeah, I went to the grocery store and I picked that out specifically. And then for me, it's the like going to a potluck and being like, okay, so what are my kids going to eat? So then do I bring something boring that my picky children are actually going to consume, or bring something that looks good that they're not going to eat, but maybe the adults will like, you know, then it's maybe I have to bring everything. I don't know. Then why did I leave the house?
I have a second cussing and discussing, but it's real quick. My favorite baking pan is still gone because of a potluck that happened like weeks before the pandemic started, because I left my pan at this university-sponsored thing because it was still half full of brownies and people were so excited and we had to leave early because kids. And that was 4 years ago. And I still haven't replaced the pan because eventually I'm going to get it back. I have no idea who has it or where it is or anything else about it, but I refuse to buy a new one.
You're holding on to the memory of that pan.
If I have time, sometimes I'll go to like a thrift store and I'll buy like a cheap baking dish from the thrift store, and then I put it in that, and then I just leave the pan there and I never
collect it.
I have learned from my rookie mistake and bought a shit ton of disposable aluminum. But I like the idea of buying some at the thrift store and just labeling them with like, this one belongs to the potluck universe now. Just keep it going.
Or you could put some random person's name on it that is no one that was at the party, and then forever they'll be like, this is Susan's, but we don't even know who she is.
Yeah, who's Susan?
I like the idea that, you know, like people leave rubber ducks or like little trolls or things at people's houses, that you would find someone who really irritates you and put their name on all of these pans so that every time they like went to church or went anywhere, people would be like, oh, I have your pan.
They get it returned.
Yeah.
Present them with a random
this is
pan.
yours.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kayla, what do you have to cuss and discuss?
I think because, I don't know, I camp. We're big campers. So my big cuss would be with camping season coming that it costs more to camp in today after COVID than it did before. It's like you pay more than staying at a hotel.
Yeah.
Between my fifth wheel, between the food I have to buy, and then paying for like $100 campsite a night blows my mind. I am bringing my own home to your campsite that you're cutting the grass at, and you're telling me it's $100 a night to stay for what? For what? You're giving me a gravel pad to throw my camper on. What do you mean? What do you mean $100 a night? Like, are you on glue?
Well, that's like Airbnbs now too.
Well,
like
it's just
Airbnb used to be
bullshit.
like the more affordable option, but now it costs more to do an Airbnb than it does to like stay at a hotel.
And a hotel cleans my damn room.
Yeah.
Whereas like camping, I have to pack all that shit up. I have to unpack it all. I'm like trying to make childhood memories for my children.
Yeah.
but pay more than staying in a freaking hotel that I have I could order room service.
Yeah.
Like, what? So that's like my big thing these days, because I'm booking camping right now and I'm like, nope, not staying there, not staying here, because I'm like, what? You have a playground and some gravel for me to throw my camper on. Like, this is bullshit.
I think the takeaway is don't ask them to bring their stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say sometimes that depending on the campsite and if you're in the country, you're closer to other humans than you are when you're at home. So like you're out in nature, but you actually can't yell at your kids anymore because now you're
No, right.
My husband,
I can't tell them they're being little assholes because there's people next door and they're probably going to be like, you shouldn't say that. I'm like, well, they're being assholes. I'm sorry.
My husband and I lived in a trailer for the longest time on our property, and I would be like, we should start camping. And he would say, we literally are camping every day. We live in a trailer in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, why are we going to go and pay to do the exact same thing somewhere else?
This feels like booking an Airbnb at a farm. Like, we could have stayed home and looked at sheep. But yeah. Arlene, what do you have to cuss and discuss today?
So I'm going to loop back to one of our previous conversations about people taking themselves and agriculture too seriously. Because, I mean, I think we all agree that this is a serious thing. I mean, obviously, we want people to take care of their animals. These are our businesses. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're, doing things that are good for our family and for the environment and blah, 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 blah. But like we've all talked about, there's no need to be so dour and serious about every aspect of this industry so that it seems like, I think sometimes it's like farmers are trying to prove that we have it really bad. It's like, oh, well, it sucks so much. We work all the time and, like we don't get paid. And I mean, some of those things, are true. But like we've said, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. No one is forcing you to be in this industry and to be a farmer. And if you're really that miserable, then maybe find something else to do because it doesn't benefit you.
Yeah, then don't do it. This is not the job for you.
Yeah, that's right. And we can have fun with our families and within agriculture and not be unloyal to what it is that we're doing. We can have fun at this and show people that agriculture, is actually filled with people who enjoy this lifestyle and are, actually smile once in a while.
Yeah. And just, I guess, talk more highly about it, right? Like, and just really watch what we're saying, and Kayla and I have joked about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we love our sheep. And so people underneath, like in the comments, will say like, oh, sheep were the worst thing that ever, blah, 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 blah. And I always try to respond to those and be like, we've actually had really great luck with our sheep and we like them a lot. And we're fortunate that we have them because, I think that's the, what's the word for it? I could slip my mind, but that's what the things that people are thinking about it anyway, or just like all of the negative things that they're hearing.
Well, and I think too, the age of farmers, like, so our parents that are potentially still farming, we need to, like, we as our generation need to potentially raise farmers, because otherwise it's all going to go to huge, big industry, like I don't know if it's like industrial farming or not industrial, but like big, like huge corporations are going to take over, and there's going to be no more smaller family farms. And you're going to be so dependent on these huge farming corporations, and you're going to have you're going to be so reliant. And if something goes wrong with those corporations, we're screwed, right? Like, you want to create your future generation of farmers. And I think if you talk crappily about it in front of your children, why would they want to?
Well, if you're like bringing your kids out and constantly yelling at them all the time while you're out there too, and trust me, I know that it's hard not to. It's hard not to yell at your spouse. It's hard for me to not yell at Kayla sometimes, right? Like, sometimes it gets a little bit heated, but if you're dragging your kids out there and you're yelling at them and you're upset with them all the time, or you're yelling at your animals or whatever, then it's not going to be fun with them and they're not going to want to take things over. So I do try to make it fun for everybody so we don't end up hating it, right?
If that means them playing in a big mud pit and getting stuck and, we've had so many situations where we finish, like, say, vaccinating and the kids are, like, covered in mud head to toe, and it's just like, well, wasn't that great? Let's go home and hose you down.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're just, like, ready to throttle them. So you're just like, you couldn't just not. But they were quiet.
One more job at the end. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Shannon and Kayla, for joining us today. Can you remind our listeners where they can find you and watch your hilarious content? Because we think it's funny.
Yeah, you can find us at Oh Sheep Shit on TikTok and Instagram.
Thank you so much.
Same one for both. So, okay,
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great to meet you both.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you guys.
Thank you for joining us on Barnyard Language. If you enjoy the show, please support us on Patreon with a donation.
Big thanks go out to our show editor, Krista Paffrath at the Rural Podcast Network.
Please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen and follow the show so you never miss an episode.
If you want to connect with other farming families, join the private Barnyard Language Facebook group.
We are always in search of future guests for the podcast. If you or someone you know would like to chat with us, get in touch. Thank you for joining us on Barnyard Language. If you enjoy the show, please support us on Patreon with a donation.
Big thanks go out to our show editor, Krista Paffrath at the Rural Podcast Network.
Please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen and follow the show so you never miss an episode.
If you want to connect with other farming families, join the private Barnyard Language Facebook group.
We are always in search of future guests for the podcast. If you or someone you know would like to chat with us, get in touch.